Hey guys, my name is Monty. I am a math tutor. I've been tutoring SAT math for about 10 years. I scored a perfect score on my SATs. I got an 800 on my SAT 2s for both Math 1C and 2C. I got an 800 on my GREs math section, which is for grad school. I was a math major at Carnegie Mellon, and I have my master's in math education from Columbia Teachers College. I really like math. I really know my stuff, so hopefully this video can help you achieve higher scores on the math portion of your SATs. This video is intended to help you out with really hard math questions, which are the questions at the end of the math section. My strategy, which I'm going to teach you in this video, is for really hard math questions only. Okay, let me repeat that. This is for really hard math questions only. This strategy does not work on easy or medium questions, only for really hard questions. So if you're running out of time at the end of a section, or you're really not sure how to solve the problem, you can use this strategy I'm about to teach you to make an educated guess on what the correct answer is. Before we talk about Monty's guessing strategy, or MGS for short, I want to talk about guessing on the SATs. There are a lot of opinions out there on when you should omit or leave a question blank on the SATs, but I have a very simple answer to that. Every multiple choice question on the math section has 5 answers. If you omit a multiple choice question, your raw score, which is used to figure out what your overall score is, your raw score doesn't change. Okay, you get 0 points for omitting. It doesn't go up or down. If you don't omit one answer, the correct one, it adds a point to your raw score. And the other 4 answers, or incorrect answers, subtract a quarter point from your raw score. Now, a lot of people think that since most of the answers are wrong, it is likely that I will lose points, so it's better to omit and get a 0 than to guess incorrectly and lose a quarter of a point. However, if we look closely at the math, this is not true. While yes, 4 out of 5 times you will lose a quarter of a point by guessing incorrectly, 1 out of 5 times you will gain a whole point. In the long run, 4 times of losing a quarter and 1 time of gaining a full point will add up to 0, which is equivalent to the long run of omitting. So completely randomly guessing is exactly the same expected value as omitting. Now, I know for a fact that you can guess better than completely randomly. Usually you can eliminate at least 1 answer. Okay, and even if you can't, later on in this video, using MGS, I will show you how to guess the correct answer. So, in conclusion, please believe me when I say that you should never omit any math question. Okay? I've already talked about the multiple choice questions and how the scoring on them work for the raw score. For the grid-ins, where you have to input your answer, there's not multiple choice, that is a much easier decision on whether to omit or not. And the reason I'd say never ever omit on those is when you get a question wrong in the grid-in section, that is 0 points. You do not lose a quarter of a point for getting a question wrong. So omitting and being wrong in the grid-ins is exactly the same amount of points. Okay? So what if you have no idea what the answer is and there's no multiple choice to guess with? Just guess your favorite number. Guess 2, guess 10, guess 1,000,000. Try and make it an educated guess. Okay, if you know it has to be between 1 and 100, don't guess 1,000. But just pick any number, and yeah, how often is 7 going to be right? Maybe 1 in 1,000,000, but that's better than 0, which would be omitting. Okay, so please, please, please never omit a question. Okay, so now it's time to talk about my guessing strategy. Monty's guessing strategy, or MGS is what I'm going to call it for the rest of this video. So in order to do that, I am going to use this Kaplan 12 practice tests for the SATs 2014 edition that I picked up today at Barnes & Noble. Kaplan is great. They're the oldest SAT prep class still going, and they have plenty of practice for you. I bought this book because it has the most practice tests, and I'd really suggest that you get this book as well. One thing I'd like to mention is if you're going to use a practice book like this or another one with practice tests in it, don't write in the book, because it is very helpful to do problems over and over again. Maybe do a section and then maybe a month later go back to that section when you're stronger, and make sure that you have seen that type of problem and are able to solve it. The SATs do tend to repeat types of problems that they ask you, so the more practice, the more prepared you will be. Okay. So for my strategy, it is used on very hard questions that have variables in the answers. Okay, so if I look at my answer choices and there are variables in the answers, you can use my strategy. Okay, this strategy is a guessing strategy, an educated guessing strategy, so it should only be used if you don't know how to solve the problem or if you've run out of time. Okay, it's great as a quick way to pick an answer, and it's right extremely often, as I'll show you. So let's get down to it. Okay, so I'm going to take my SAT book and I'm going to open up to the end where all the practice sections are. Okay, and this is the last test. I'm looking for a math section. So I have my math section here. I go to the end of my math section where all the hard problems are, and let's look at a question that has variables in it. Okay, so I've gone to the end of math section. Okay, this is the last math section on the last test in this book. And I've looked at the last three problems. Okay, the last three problems are the only ones you could use my strategy on in each section, because those are the hard problems. Okay, now I see variables in my answers, which means I can use my strategy, and I'm going to show you exactly how to use the process of elimination to come up with the correct answer if you have no idea how to solve the problem. Okay, so this is a problem on substitution. Okay, we have to substitute A's and B's. Let's make believe I have no idea how to do substitution. I have no idea what this problem's asking. Is this even in English? I don't know. Okay, I am going to make believe I can't even read the question. Now, let's look at the answer choices. What I want you to do is think about the right choice. The right choice is the one that looks like the rest of the choices, okay? If you get the wrong answer by making one mistake, okay, if you have the right answer but you just made one mistake and you got the wrong answer, that answer is probably going to show up as one of the choices. Okay, so each part of the right answer, the SATs likes to change a little bit, and that will be the wrong answer. So the one that is correct is the one that looks like the rest of the answers, or is camouflaged in. Okay, I like to use camouflage because it is a combination of all of the elements that makes you see what the right answer is. Okay, so I'm going to think of this in terms of voting. Okay, I want to find the majority of votes. So all of them have 6b squared. After 6b squared, all of them have minus. Okay, but after that, I see a 48b, a 57b, a 57b, a 9b, and a 9b. I see one vote for 48b, 2 votes for 57b, and 2 votes for 9b. So I'm going to eliminate A because there's only one vote for 48b. Okay, so now left with B, C, D, or E. if I look at the next part, I'm not looking at the 96 or the 132 or the 144 yet. I'm looking at the pluses and minuses. There are 4 pluses and 1 minus. So I'm getting rid of D. Okay, because that one stands out. I want to find the one that doesn't stand out. I want to find the one that's camouflaged in the most. Okay, now if we look at B, C, and E, they all look very similar, except one of them has 132, 2 of them have 144. Okay, one of them has 9B, 2 of them have 57B. So for B and C, those both have 57B, and E has 9B. So I know it's going to be B or C. And for C and E, those two have 144, and B has 132, so I'm going to get rid of that 132. So I could either get rid of B, or I could get rid of E, but I'm going to get rid of both of them, okay? Because it doesn't matter which majority you look at first. And what am I left with? C, okay? Let's look and see if C is the right answer. That is question number 15 in section 8. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the answers, which are right over here. Okay, and I see this is section 8. If I go down to number 15, up ends at 14. Here's number 15. It's C. I just got that question right without knowing what the question was. Let's look at another one. Okay, so here's another example. This is also question 15 in another section out of 16. Okay, so I know it's a hard problem because it's at the end of a section. I purposefully cut off some of the question because the question is not what's important for my strategy. Okay, there are variables in the answers. Great. Now, I'm looking for votes. Okay, I'm looking for majorities. Once again, majority doesn't mean 3 or more. It just means which one has the most votes. So this is a great example of there being 2 votes, which is the majority. Now, I'm looking at my numerators and my denominators, and I'm looking for things that are exactly alike. Okay, what do I notice are exactly alike? I see a lot of S plus W's. I see a lot of 10s. Okay, there's a couple 10S's. Everything ends in percent. Now, I'm trying to find a numerator that is exactly alike. So I have 10S, 10, S plus W, 10S, and S. Great. I see 2 numerators that look exactly alike. That's going to be A or D. Okay, so I know the answer is A or D. Now I'm going to look at the denominators. Let's look at the denominators. I have W, S plus W, 10, S plus W, and 10 times S plus W. Now, there's 2 votes again in the denominators. B and D both have S plus W. So if I know the answer is A or D, or I know the answer is B or D, what do you think I'm going to choose? D. Okay? So I didn't cross out here because I really, once again, I recommend you do not look in the book. I'm sorry, you don't write in the book. Okay? Because you want to do questions later. But let's see if my strategy works. So this is number 15 on section 8, and we said D. Okay, so let's go to the answers, which are right over here. Okay, and once again, right above section 9 is section 8. 15 is D. I just got that question right by not looking at the question. I just looked at the answers. I used the MGS strategy of eliminating minorities, just looked at majorities, and I got the question right. Okay, how long did that take me? 15 seconds. Okay, it'd take me less if I didn't have to explain it. I just got the hardest question, or one of the hardest questions in my test right in 10 seconds without even looking at the question. Okay, if that doesn't blow your mind, then something's wrong with you. Okay, this is a great example of when you can't narrow it down to exactly one answer, but I still have a method on doing that. So, using my strategy right now, I'd like you to pause the video and try and narrow down as much as you can. Okay, you should be able to narrow it down to 2 answers. So please pause the video now and narrow it down to 2 answers. I'll show you how to narrow it down to 1 answer. Okay, so I see right away the first 3 have 4, the other 2 have 20. So I'm going to get rid of D and E. Okay, those are gone. Now, I see a 5, an 8, and a 10. How do I choose between those? Well, there's one I could definitely eliminate, and that's going to be the 5. Okay, so as you can see, just because I eliminated D and E doesn't mean they can't give me more information. I am eliminating D and E as answer choices, but I'm still using them for information. So I see that D and E have an 8 and 10, so most likely, because there's 2 votes for 8 and 2 votes for 10 and 1 vote for 5, I'm going to get rid of A. Okay, I could have gotten rid of A as my first thing instead of D and E, and then I get rid of D and E because those 2 have 20 and the other 3 have 4. But as you can see, I'm using all of the examples, even after I eliminate them, as pieces of information. Now, how do I choose between 8 and 10? Okay, I know a lot of you on multiple choice have heard the strategy that just guess C. C is the answer. Okay, and there's some truth behind that. If you're making a test, and let's say the answer choices are 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, you don't want the smallest one or the biggest one to be the answer, because if the student comes up with a bigger answer than all the choices or a smaller answer than all the choices, they're going to choose the one closest to that. So if your answer choices are 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and I get 7, I'm going to choose 10 because that was what I'm closest to. Okay, so you want your answer choices to be somewhat in the middle. So this is a case where I'm always going to choose whichever one is in the middle. So you could say, well, there's an 8 and a 10, there's no middle, but I like to think of it using all of the pieces of information. There's a 5, an 8, and a 10. So if I have to choose between 8 and 10, I'm going to choose the 8 because that's closest to the other one that we haven't used. Okay, if this 5 was a 20, usually they put them in order, so if it was down here, then C would be in the middle, and I would choose that one. Okay, so that is question number 20 in section 3. Let's take a look at where the answers are. Section 8. Here we go. Question number 20 in section 3. Right there is B. Okay, just like we said. Awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to give a couple more examples so you could really drill the strategy in. This is a great example. The more complicated the answers, the more likely it is that the strategy works. Okay, I'm not claiming the strategy works every time. This isn't a way to get the question right. This is a way to make an educated guess. Okay, it does work a crazy amount of times. Okay, I promise I'm picking random problems. I'm going to show you a couple problems where it doesn't work on. Hopefully they exist in this book, but right now they've all worked so far, so let's keep it going. All right, so please pause the video and try and use my strategy. This is similar to the one we had before with the L's and the 4L and 20L and that stuff. So you can't narrow it down to one answer, but using my strategy, I'd like you to give it a try. Okay, so what do I see? A lot of people will eliminate E immediately because that one just looks different. It has a 6x, the rest have x, okay, which is great. Now, how do I choose between -2 + 2, -6 + 6? Okay, once again, please don't forget this. I am using all of the choices, including E, even though I eliminated it. So, what do I see in E? A plus. What does that mean? I'm going to eliminate A and C. Now, how do I choose between the 2 and the 6? That's the only difference between B and D. The +2 and +6. Once again, I'm looking for the one in the middle. in the middle. So I have an x plus 2, I have an x plus 6, and I also eliminated a 6x plus 4. 6x plus 4 just seems bigger than those two. So I'm going to choose the bigger choice, which is D. Okay? This is question number 15 in section 9. That was section 8. Number 15 is D. Okay, section 9 doesn't have 15. Section 8, number 15 was D, just like we said. Okay, so a big thing that I want you to remember is that just because we eliminate an answer choice doesn't mean we can't use it for information to eliminate other answer choices. Okay, so I eliminated that 6x first, but I used it later when I had to choose between the bigger or smaller one. Okay? Okay, so this strategy is really only used for questions that have variables in them, but I want to show you sometimes where you could use them without variables or with pi in the question. Okay, so I have a grid-in section here. Okay, grid-ins are at the end of a section, so I'm going to look at the problem right before the grid-in. The problem right before the grid-in, the one problem right before the grid-in is usually considered a hard problem. Okay, so once again, the last 3 questions in a section that does not have grid-ins, and the last problem that's multiple choice in the grid-in section, those are the ones you're going to be using my strategy for. Okay, so that's not too big of a choice. Okay, it's maybe 2 or 3 problems on your SATs that you can actually use this strategy for. But getting those extra 2 or 3 problems right is another 50 points on your SATs, which is huge. Okay, so using my strategy, I'd like you to eliminate or look at the voting for which one you think should be the correct answer. I'm going to pause for 3 seconds. Okay, so you can pause the video and take a look. Okay, so this is going to be super quick. Okay, this is the hardest problem in this section, and I'm going to do it in 5 seconds. What do I see? 5, 1, 1/3, 1/5, negative 1/5. There's 2 1/5s, so I'm going to choose between D or E. Do I choose the negative one or the positive one? Well, there's 4 answers here that are positive. There's 1 that's negative, so I'm going to choose D. Okay, D is my choice for number 8 in section 5. Okay. Let's look at the answers. Okay, maybe that took a little more than 5 seconds, but not that much more. Okay, that's how amazing this strategy is. Section 5, number 8 is D. Right there. Okay, so that was a great example of when you could use it when there's not variables. Let's look at an example when you can use it where there's pi. Okay, so this is another number 8. Which is right before the grid-ins, so I know it's a hard problem. Okay, and this is one that has pi's in it. So I want you to use my strategy to find 2 majorities that we are looking for. Okay, so one is very obvious, to me at least. It is 3 of the choices have 1 on top, and 2 have pi on top. So if I'm talking about voting, 3 to 2, the 3 is going to win. So I'm going to get rid of D and E. Now, how do I choose between 1/4, 1 over pi, and 1 over 3? Well, the SATs is not going to include a variable or a pi if you're not going to use it. Okay, so I can eliminate choices A and C because B, D, and E all have pi in them. Okay, so I'm eliminating A and C. I'm left with B. Okay, let's see if that is the right answer. That's section 4, number 8. Section 4, number 8 is B. So that is an example of when you have to choose between answers that have variables and don't have variables. You want to use the majority, which is almost always answers that do have variables. Okay, I know pi is not a variable, but we're treating it as one. So I saw 3 of the answers had pi, 2 of them didn't. So I'm going to include the 3 that had pi as my majority. Let's look at another one. Okay, so here is another example, a little more complicated, which is good. Okay, the more information they give us, or the more things that can change, the better. Okay, so I have a lot of things that I could do in terms of majorities, but I'm going to get rid of e first because that's not a fraction. Okay, once again, please pause the video if you want to try it on your own. Now, I'm looking at A, B, C, D, and E. There's a W on top in all of them, so I can't really go with W. There's a P on top in 3 of them, so I'm going to get rid of D. Okay. There's a 60 on the bottom in 3, and it's on the top in 2. Remember, I'm using information from the other ones that I've already eliminated. So the 60 is on the bottom in 3 and on top on 2. So I'm getting rid of the C because it's on top there. Okay, now I'm left with A or B. Basically, is the X supposed to go on top or the bottom? X is in the bottom in A, top in B, bottom in C, top in D. Now E, is the X on top or bottom? Well, the way I think of it, I'm thinking of if I want to turn it into a fraction, then it's over 1. So the X is really on top. So I'm going to go with B. Okay? I had to choose between A and B, and I had to get a little tricky there with E to make it into a fraction. Let's see if the answer is A or B. This is number 20 in section 3. Okay, section 3. Number 20. It's A. Okay, so I narrowed it down to 2 choices. I went with B. It was A. Okay, so this strategy is not foolproof. It's just a way of making an educated guess, and I narrowed it down to 2, which is pretty good. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, so here's another example that I want you to try and do on your own. Okay. So I'm going to pause here for a little bit. Okay, so what do I see? I see k minus 1, k over 2, 2 over k, k minus 1 over 2, 2 over k minus 1. So I am going to eliminate C and E. Why am I going to eliminate C and E? Because the variable is what's most important, and the variable is on top on B and D. It's on the bottom in C and E. What is it in A? Well, we already mentioned, I'm thinking of that as over 1. So the variable is really on top in A, B, and D. So I'm going to get rid of C and E. Now, between A, B, and D, I have a k minus 1. That is not going to be it. That's the only one that's not a fraction. So it's really between B and D. Is it k over 2 or k minus 1 over 2? Basically, is it k or k minus 1? Now, which ones have k, which ones have k minus 1? 3 of them have k minus 1, 2 of them have k, so it's going to be the k minus 1 over 2, which is D. Okay, hopefully you're able to follow along without me crossing things out. Let's look at number 19, section 3. Number 19 in section 3 is D. Okay, just like we said. Great. Okay, and this is the last one that we're going to go over. I mentioned you could use it for inequalities. You could use it for when there's pi. Okay, this one has variables and inequalities, which is really nice. Once again, more info is better. Okay, so let's use our voting system. There's 2 equals. There's 2 less thans. There's a greater than. There's a bunch of pluses and minuses. They're all 1 over 16. They're all x, and they're all 13. Okay, so those are all the things I'm going to use. So I see 3 minuses and 2 pluses. So I'm going to get rid of B. I'm going to get rid of D. Okay. Now, there's an equals, a greater than, and a less than. Okay. let's look at the equals. 2 of them are equals, 3 of them are greater than or less than. So I'm going to say that's a vote towards greater than or less than. Okay, even though there's 2 less thans and 1 greater than and 2 equals, I'm going to consider the equals to be gone. Okay, so I already got rid of B and D. I'm going to get rid of A as well. So now it's between C and E. Am I going to choose the greater than or the less than? 2 less thans, 1 greater than. So yeah, I'm going to choose E. Okay, I'm going to choose E. That's number 19 in section 2. Section 2. Number 19 is E. Let's see. Yes. Awesome. Okay. Okay, so that is my super awesome strategy. It's a guessing strategy used to help if you run out of time or you don't know how to solve the problem. Okay, once again, it only works on the really hard questions, which are the last 3 questions in a non-grid-in section and the last multiple choice question in a grid-in section. On the grid-ins, if you have to guess, then just guess a number. Try and make an educated guess. Don't omit any grid-ins. Don't omit any multiple choice. Just never omit. Okay, it's worth the risk. It's worth so much more getting it right than getting it wrong that it's worth the risk of guessing. Okay, and using my strategy, you can eliminate the minorities and have a pretty good idea on what the answer is. Okay, I have a lot of other mind-blowing strategies and techniques that you can learn, and those are in my other videos, which I would love for you to purchase. Okay, please tell your friends about me, share and like on Facebook, and for a final bonus, I will give you a question. I'm just going to give you the answer choices, and please go to the website below, which is my website, to see if you have used my strategy correctly. Well, that's all for this video. I hope you learned something. I hope you do great on your SATs, and I hope I helped. Bye.